Coming next, what do the results in last night's Democratic South Carolina primary mean? A big win for Obama. What does it mean for Super Tuesday? What lessons can we learn for Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats? Our roundtable, Maureen Dowd, Chuck Todd, Byron York, next only on Meet the Press. We are back. Welcome all. Let's go directly to the results last night. Here it is, South Carolina. And look at these numbers. Barack Obama, a huge win, 55%. Hillary Clinton, 27%. Edwards, 18%. Obama getting nearly 300,000 votes, double the total of Hillary Clinton. And here's the breakdown by race. Obama got 78% of the blacks. Clinton got 19%. Edwards, 2% amongst whites. Obama 1 and 4. Clinton 36%. John Edwards actually won the whites. Interesting to note, Obama and Clinton practically tied amongst white men. And look at this age breakdown. Young voters, 18 to 29, it's overwhelmingly Obama, 67, Clinton 23, Edwards 10, over 60, 38, 35, 27, much tighter. Chuck Todd, what does it mean?
Well, it was a major victory for Obama and a major rebuke for the Clintons. I mean, particularly President Clinton. He somehow not only drove more African-American support to Obama. I mean, this turnout's massive. Barack Obama's vote total is going to be equal to the entire Democratic electorate in South Carolina from 2004. So it was a massive turnout among African Americans. But more importantly, he somehow drove white voters to John Edwards. I mean, John Edwards winning the white, I mean, it was, yes, John Edwards finished third, but when you're looking at inside those numbers, and you know, there's been all this talk about whether this primary had become racialized and somehow that Barack Obama was getting pigeonholed and he was going to be the black candidate for president rather than a candidate for president who happens to be black. Clinton did not benefit by getting the white vote. John Edwards did. And now John Edwards is staying in this race. We're going to have a lot of other southern primaries coming up. This is the entire way this primary happened. It's a big rebuke of the Clintons and a big shot in the arm for Obama.
Another event overnight, Maureen Dowd, in your paper, Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of the 35th president, John Kennedy, wrote an op-ed piece in the Times endorsing Barack Obama. And this is what she said: "I have never had a president who inspired me the way people tell me that my father inspired them. But for the first time, I believe I have found the man who could be that president, not just for me, but for a new generation of Americans, Barack Obama." Are we going to see Caroline Kennedy, Oprah Winfrey, Town Hall? How significant is this?
Well, I think this is huge. The Hillary people were obviously trying to get Caroline Kennedy's endorsement, and the fact that she gave it to Obama is very much like the moment that Bill Clinton pushed when he shook JFK's hand at Boys Nation. Now, JFK probably didn't remember that at all, but the Clinton campaign made that the Arthurian moment where Galahad took the sword out of the stone. And now Carolyn has done that for Obama, but it's a real moment because she is saying, you are like my father, after decades of politicians pretending to be like JFK and Gary Hart chopping his hand and, you know, Dan Quayle trying to act like he was JFK. She is giving him the imprimatur, and I think it's huge.
Let me talk about the issue that of race, which came up. Jim Clyburn, Byron, the congressman from South Carolina, after the vote came in last night, was reflecting on what had happened. And this is what he said. Let's watch.
I'm not surprised at that at all, because I really believe that in the last 48 hours, the voters kind of recoiled. They kind of decided to reject the racial animus that seemed to be developing, and I'm so pleased.
The voters recoiled. Congressman Clyburn had said earlier in the day that Bill Clinton had been using, in effect, code words.
100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination.
My guess is that what they're going to do is they are going to play the race card, but they're going to do it in a very subtle way.
They say to themselves, okay, I have a choice between a truly inspirational speaker who has not done the kind of spade work
and then the strongest food.
that really made black Americans nervous. Those are very strong comments coming from someone who was neutral in this race.
You know, I don't think you can overstate the amount of anger created in Democrats by Bill Clinton's tactics.
Give me a break. This whole thing is the biggest fairy tale I've ever seen.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
I mean, they were very, very unhappy with him. I was talking to a Democratic strategist the other day who said, my wife just got in the car. She's driving to South Carolina to volunteer for Obama. They were that angry at what Clinton had done. And he also said, you know, Clinton is trying to turn him into Jesse Jackson. And sure enough, after Obama wins big, what does Bill Clinton say? But, well, you know, Jesse Jackson won here too. But, you know, Hillary Clinton was kind of reduced to her core constituency in South Carolina. She had problems with everybody except for white women. 80% of black women voted against her, 80% of black men voted against her, and 72% of white men voted against her. I mean, she was down to a very small constituency.
Ron Walters, a professor at University of Maryland, made this observation the other day on NPR, and I want to share it with everyone. The only way that Obama is going to be elected is to try to neutralize race. And when you're talking about Bill Clinton and so far as they try to blacken Barack Obama, what they do is play on the divisiveness of the racial sector. The objective of the Clinton campaign is to make him blacker, which is to call out his blackness and therefore to complicate his constituency, which is predominantly white.
Here's the story. Obama has lost half his white support in South Carolina in the past week. And he's lost it because there is a campaign underway by the Clintons to paint him as the black candidate. Robert Reich, his former labor secretary, said it today. He said Clinton is injecting race into this race, and that's true. And it's hurt Obama among whites and Latinos. He's now getting 8% of white female voters in South Carolina. John Edwards, who's got no chance of winning, is beating Obama among white voters in South Carolina 3-1. That's the story, the racial polarization on the Democratic side. This has ramifications that will last a very long time. I think it hurts the Clintons.
And then Bob Herbert, Maureen, of your paper, weighed in with these very powerful, forceful words. It's legitimate to ask, given the destructive developments of the last few weeks, whether the Clintons are capable of being anything but divisive. The electorate seems more polarized now than it was just a few weeks ago, and the Clintons have seemed positively gleeful in that atmosphere. It makes one wonder whether they have any understanding or regard for the corrosive long-term effects on their party and the nation of pitting people bitterly and unnecessarily against one another. What kind of people are the Clintons? What role will Bill Clinton play in a new Clinton White House? Can they look beyond winning to a wounded nation's need for healing and unifying? These are questions that need to be answered. Stay tuned. Two black voices in academia and in journalism with very stern words for Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Well, it was astonishing, the spectacle of seeing a so-called first black president trying to destroy a would-be first black president. I mean,
I'm not sure it's really worth discussing whether or not Bill Clinton was the first black president. I know, Roland, you strongly disagree.
Toni Morrison, you owe black America an absolute apology. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because if Bill Clinton was a black president, he wouldn't have thrown Monty Guinier under the bus, his so-called friend. If he was a first black president, he wouldn't have let 400,000 people in Rwanda die if he was so-called the first black president. But he also did not stand up for D.C. and statehood.
Also, just for accuracy, it's 800,000.
And we've never seen anything like this, and it was very personal between Obama and Clinton. And I think that in the end, Hillary gave up a good narrative for her, which is that she had carved out her own identity and that it wasn't going to be the Bickersons back in the White House. And you just saw the Clintons, and Mitt Romney was right. You visualized her in the Oval, him in the East Wing rambling around looking for mischief. And it was, you know, it was a very seamy. Phil Galey, who's the editorial page editor of the St. Petersburg Times, said watching Clinton in South Carolina was like watching a mad dog slobber. It was about him. And you know, as The Onion said, you know, the Onion headline was, "Screw it, I'm running for president," by Bill Clinton.
Well, Barack Obama, in his editorial board session with the Nevada paper, did say that Ronald Reagan was a transformative president, unlike Bill Clinton and Richard Nixon.
And that clearly got Bill going, yes.